Here you go, it's me, Jamal, back now. YouTube here today. This one is scary animations. We gotta watch this. We gotta watch this. Let's get on to the video, shall we? Let's get it. Insane neighbor.
A few years back, I rented
Man,
an
you ain't the
apartment
only
from a
one.
friend of mine.
That insane neighbor.
He had recently bought it and had it completely renovated. He put it up for sale but couldn't find a buyer, so I offered to rent it in the meantime. After moving in, I realized there was something wrong with the lady next door. She was about 45, but looked much older. She would sit up all night listening to Christian radio shows and talking loudly to someone. It got to the point where I couldn't sleep, so I went over to her place and asked her to keep it down. She opened her door and I got a quick peek. Her walls all had crosses painted on them in different colors, and words like Jesus and angels scribbled everywhere. The windows were painted black, letting in no light at all. It was damp, yellow-stained 50-year-old carpets, dog shit and cockroaches everywhere. No dog, though. I asked her to please keep it down.
No dog? So
she just looked at me and shut the door. Then she turned up the radio even louder. The next day, I had my girlfriend staying over.
I'll show you quiet.
I wake up in the middle of the night and see a shadow of a person next to the bed looking at us sleeping. I think I'm hallucinating, as I usually do in the dark when I'm sleepy. But then the shadow starts talking. It's my neighbor, and she's holding something in her hand. She broke in during the night, and who knows how long she stood there.
You should lock your door at night,
she says and walks out. The next morning, I hear someone making strange noises below my bedroom window.
One that bad. Wait, one that bad.
There.
You should lock your door at night,
she says and walks out.
Oh my gosh, that's a demon, because she had a demonic voice.
The next morning, I hear someone making strange noises below my bedroom window. It's my neighbor, talking to herself in tongue. She has a plastic bag in her hand, with her rotting, dead dog inside. It's hot as hell outside, and I can smell death from the bag. At this point, I'm scared shitless. She's obviously very insane.
She's not insane.
I go upstairs and knock on another person's door and ask what the hell is going on. The guy is as scared as me. Apparently, she broke into his apartment one evening as well, while he was watching TV with his kids. He got up from the couch to get a snack, only to find her behind the couch staring at him, holding a power drill. At this stage, I'm basically shitting myself. I call the cops, and they know all about her.
I'll call the cops first.
Apparently, she's a violent schizophrenic, and she hasn't taken her meds. But they can't force her or enter her apartment without permission, because she owns it.
She can enter your apartment without
permission. The only thing they
can
do is get her when she goes outside.
No, you keep telling the story. Whatever. I'm not
I sit up for the next 2 days, waiting for her to run out of cigarettes. When I hear her leave at 2 a.m. to go across the road to the 7-Eleven, I call the cops. They have 3 cars and a special van over in less than 2 minutes. They restrain her and throw her in the van and drive off to some institution. And in less than a minute, it's like she was never there. I never see her again, but I still have nightmares about her looking at me in my sleep.
That's nasty. Next one. Home invasion horror.
It was a cold, foggy
Now this is
evening
by
when I
Llama
contacted a
Arts,
close friend of
the
mine to stay at my
king
place for the night.
of horror
Both of us were only 10
animations.
years old at the time.
Well, to
My
me,
parents
yeah,
were
probably
often at work until
God.
midnight, so I was usually alone with nothing to do except watching a television show or reading a book. My friend Alex had agreed to come over and brought a game of Monopoly to pass some of the time. I also asked if he was interested in going to explore an abandoned subway station 3 miles away. He seemed excited at first, so we planned to go on the trip in the morning.
You're a nerd, man.
I remembered that the subway dated back to the mid-1920s and
I
became
bet there's a
abandoned in
black kid there.
1932 after the market crash in
Like, hey,
1929. I was very
if it's
fascinated
haunted,
about
I'm
its
not
history,
going.
but never got the chance to go inside after my parents had
Just
warned
take
me
me
not
there
to
and I'll
enter.
tell them that.
As I quietly slept in my bed, I heard what sounded like a gunshot coming from the forest behind the house. Both of us woke up, frightened after what we had heard, and I told my friend not to worry, as hunters tend to go into the forest on frequent occasions, but when I checked the time, it was 11:39 p.m. This seemed very unusual, as hunters only came into the forest between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. I looked at Alex and decided to get out of my bed, intending to look through the window and spot for anyone in the forest. The darkness clouded my vision, so I was unable to see anyone in the forest. I turned around and looked at Alex again, when suddenly I heard the front door squeak open. Chills went down my spine. Both of us quietly moved to the bathroom, locked the door, and kept the light off. It was the only safe place in the house. Both of us were terrified as we desperately tried to keep as calm as we could. We heard footsteps getting louder and louder until they stopped in front of the bathroom door. And then this is when the most terrifying sound forced my heart to almost burst. Both of us screamed as the person chopped the door to pieces. It was pitch black inside the room, making it hard to find the vent, and by the time I spotted the vent, the person behind the door had made a hole big enough for us to see him. The man adorned black leather and was wearing a plague doctor mask. I scurried back to the vent, but it was too high above the floor for us to reach it, so Alex told me to go first because he was the strongest. He lifted me up on his shoulders, allowing me to open the vent and crawl inside. When I looked at the door again, the man had managed to fit his arm through the hole and reached for the lock. I quickly grabbed Alex's hand, but struggled to pull him up into the vent. "Alex!" I shouted, and began going after him. I pursued the figure until I was led to the abandoned subway deep within the forest. It was chilly and foggy, meaning that I could only see objects within a range of 5 or 6 yards. Inside the subway was a pool of freezing cold water. It was so dark that I couldn't see anything. I had to rely on listening to the screams from Alex and track the source. As I slowly walked through the subway, I was now struggling to breathe under the intense stress and fear of the situation. I called, but there was no response. I continued walking through the water until the exit was no longer visible. I was now experiencing a massive panic attack. I had lost track of Alex, and I had no idea where I was or how to get out. Where are you, Alex?
So he disappeared? Scary True about Bloody Mary. This is the last.
One day, I was on my way back from a school party. I was with my friends, but please keep in mind I was only 20 years old. We were drunk, so we really didn't know where our Uber driver was taking us. He took us through this road called Sanol in California, and everyone in the car knew this road had a very upsetting story behind it. We didn't care, since we were all drunk, and it was 3 a.m. We just wanted to go home. At what seemed like the end of the ride, the driver stopped at the side of the road and let in this girl. She sat in the back seat of the car. She claimed her name was Mary. All of our hearts dropped when we saw she had a dress on. It was a white dress.
Just like the
She also claimed that her husband dumped her on her wedding night. She said she was trying to find a ride for 3 hours, but she couldn't since it was too dark outside. When I got a good look at her, I was shaking because she was tearing up blood. I whispered to my good friend Dominic. I told him about the Bloody Mary story. I told him that it took place on this very road and that the girl might be a ghost. Right as
So
I
you
finished
had a
that
ghost in
sentence,
your car.
she looked at me through the rearview mirror with her bright, white eyes and asked us if we were talking about her. My heart dropped once
So you
again.
know you took
We asked the guy to pull over, but he insisted on dropping us off at our location. One of my female friends in the car started crying after Mary started reciting all of our names from the back of the car. We were scared because we didn't tell her our names. Now
I
everyone
wouldn't
in the car
either.
was crying except for me.
I'd have been
It
crying
felt
my
like we were
pants,
driving
bro.
forever, but
Y'all
it had
just saw
only
me
been
pee
10
my
minutes.
pants, bro.
It got brighter out, and we realized that no one was in the back. It was a night spirit that was there, and it left because it was now morning. The next morning, I thought about what happened while I was taking a shower.
Damn.
When I looked in the mirror, I saw a scratch on my neck.
Exactly. I saw that scratch too.